This week we're celebrating reaching a milestone on this channel by showing the winners to the DSLRguide 5,000 subscriber competition. Hello, my name is Cade and this is DSLRguide. So a few weeks ago I announced a competition, and the idea was that people could submit a short video that they had made and I would choose the 5 best ones and showcase them on this channel. Now the idea is that I've got a lot of really nice, encouraging and useful comments on these videos, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if some of you guys could have the chance to experience that feedback and the encouragement. So that was the idea, and I've got a lot of submissions, so I'm going to go through the 5 best ones today, and I'm going to get to it as quick as possible because I know those of you entered will be very eager to see who won. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to talk about each video, explaining why I chose it to be one of the winners, and when I'm talking about it there'll be an annotation which will take you directly to the video on that person's channel, so you can watch it in full and even leave a comment if you're feeling especially generous. And also the link to their video will be in the description, so if you're on a mobile or if you want to access them a bit easier, then feel free to look in the description. That's where you'll find each of these videos. And by the way, these aren't in a particular order, these are all just the 5 winners. There's no first prize, second prize, they are all equal, so I'd recommend that you check out all of the videos because I think each one has something that's really good about them in different ways. So the first one is called Faint by Bob Egic. I think that's how you pronounce the name, but I'm sorry if I messed that up. But this is a really cool story about a soldier, essentially. Now I'm not going to ruin the video, but the reason why I chose this one is because firstly it has a really good, the opening sequence I think is really cinematic. So the sound design is amazing on this one, and also something about the shots, although you can kind of tell they're not using a really expensive camera, I think this is what it would look like if you gave a professional filmmaker from Hollywood, if you gave them a cheaper camera, because the shots and the composition are really good, and I really like the cinematography, and the general storyline I think is really good. So I highly recommend that you check out this one. It is a really powerful message, and it has some really good acting from a younger actor, and this is something you really don't see on YouTube videos much, is it shows restraint by not just having a gunfight in a film about soldiers. It is actually a lot more powerful, and yeah, the acting I have to say was really good. So overall this is a great film and I highly recommend that you check it out. Now I am going to give one piece of advice for each film, and with this one I have to say that they had quite a long opening credits sequence, and I would say it's okay to have credits, but for a short film you really do want to have them at the end, because there are going to be a lot of people who won't sit through a 30-second credit sequence when the film is 2 minutes long, for example. The general audience has a very short attention span, so you really just want to go straight into it without having a long credit sequence, especially when the actors aren't world famous names that people would recognise. And the next one is a great film about a summer scooter camp, and this one, the thing that stood out for me was the post-production work. So the music and the effect at the beginning with the motion tracking, as well as the colour correction, or grading I should say, and also this awesome effect where the water has like rainbows shimmering across it. All of those things I think fit perfectly with the mood of a summer camp, which is energetic kids riding scooters, and everything about it seems to really fit together nicely, and this is something that's really difficult to do with a fairly heavy effect like what they've done in this video, but it works perfectly together to kind of enhance the atmosphere, both the warm colours and the really high saturation, as well as that really cool rainbow effect that would not have worked very well in a different video, and there are plenty of other effects that wouldn't have worked in this video, but they've done a really good job at choosing the right effects so that they are still very tasteful and still work really well to enhance that feeling that you're going for, hopefully, in this video. And that's really something which is very difficult to achieve. Now my one tip for this one is that towards the end the music does trail off quite quickly, so I would probably suggest that you slow that down a little bit and just work on the timings at the end, but that really is a small thing because I overall really enjoyed the video, and I think, yeah, there's some really cool editing, and the visual effects really worked for this piece, which, as I keep saying, that is something that is so rare, because it's so easy to just kind of throw on some effects and make it so that it may look cool, but it really doesn't work. But for this one, it totally did. So the next one is called Memories by Cyril Rana. So this one demonstrates great use of colour and light, and definitely just all of those kind of abstract parts of filmmaking that don't include actors and dialogue, which are kind of the more traditional things that go into making a story. This one manages to convey these really strong feelings without any dialogue, which is, I think, something really difficult to do. So they use the music and the choice of the shots to just convey a really strong message. I think this has such a strong visual style in terms of the cinematography. It looks really well produced, but most of all, it really makes you start looking behind you and thinking, what's going on, you know? And the fact that it can have such a strong effect on the viewer, and when you can feel that atmosphere in the air when you're watching it, that is something which really shows some talent. And I think that is something that was really good in this video. You know, one misplaced cut or one slightly louder sound effect or just anything, any little mistake would have totally pulled you out of the mood and the tone of this piece. And the fact that they managed to hold an audience like that, I think, is really impressive. So I like to think of this one as a bit like a poem where the first time you watch it you might not totally understand, but you certainly get the feelings coming from it, and it may not have those traditional things of a character and dialogue and a beginning, middle and end, but it has a really strong feelings that are conveyed just through their use of images and visual, and the set design and everything is really good. So overall it's just a really well done film. Now my one criticism, although I really struggled to find something on this one, was maybe the ending could have been a bit more obvious, could have had a bit more of a punchline almost, but to be honest, who am I to say whether that should have been like that? You know, this is all just kind of artistic choice, and yeah, I'd recommend that you guys go let them know what you thought of the video, because I thought it was great. And so moving on to the next one, we have a film by Finley O'Hara called Portrait of a Painter, and this one is a really nice insight into someone's life. It's the term of portrait of a, there's been quite a few of these videos, and they're just a really nice little snapshot of, it's an interview based, but it has really nice cinematography, and the music choice I thought was just absolutely perfect for this one, and some really beautiful shots in there which really are quite they show very skilled cinematography. And overall this is just a really nice little piece. I think it does a really good job at achieving what I think at least documentaries should do, which is to take something real and to show it in its real form, but then also to present it in a way that is really entertaining and really accessible, to the point where people are interested, and you find the right people, you find the right shots, and it's about moulding reality into a really entertaining thing at the end. And I think that is what Finley has done really well with this video. And one of the camera angles from a part of the interview I thought was just perfectly framed, and the eye line was great and stuff, so I've screenshotted that and I'm taking note of that for when I next do an interview. I really like the framing and the way that that shot worked out. So yeah, just overall really solid film. Now one piece of advice for this video would be probably the audio quality, just to maybe spend a bit more time setting up microphones and just take a look into the audio quality. But again, not a big thing. Overall, a really solid piece. And the final winner is a brilliant stop motion story called Perpetual Twilight. Now this one is essentially a really cool style. It has this really nice kind of fairy tale, once upon a time vibe to it, with the voiceover at the beginning, which I just really think worked perfectly for this video and was really pulled off well, and is also something you don't see much on YouTube videos, which again is something which is always very impressive when you see that originality coming through. And it had a really nice character driven story, which is always good, a really kind of classic beginning, middle, end, with a really nice ending. I was especially impressed with the ending, and just overall a really solid film, which I think must have put a lot of effort in. You know, I know for sure that doing stop motion takes absolutely ages, and I have a huge amount of respect for anyone who does that. But also the thought that must have gone into the sets was really good, because again, with a massive camera and a small set, it's very difficult to get a nice background and a nice compositions of their shot. But they did a really good job with that. But really the main thing that stood out for me was just how it was such a good story to be able to sink your teeth into. And like I said, love the style, great use of light, and the background and the compositions and the sets must have been like really difficult to pull off, and it all just worked really well. And yeah, the ending, like I said, especially was probably the highlight for me. And yeah, so my one piece of advice for this filmmaker would be perhaps you could turn up the intensity of the lights, because in a lot of those shots there is a really shallow depth of field. Now again, this may be something that you want, but for me personally, I would like to see a less blurry background, because obviously with the small characters getting so close to the lens, you do have an extremely blurry background. So I'd like to see you turn up the intensity of the lights, drop down your aperture so you have a deeper depth of field. But again, that's just a small thing. It was a really enjoyable film overall, and I'd really like to see you carry on making more stories and carry on doing what you're doing. Okay, so I realise this video is getting pretty long already, but I do just want to quickly say a massive thank you to everyone who has watched any of my videos, and especially those of you who have left those awesome comments for me. It's so encouraging and so flattering when I hear how the videos have helped people, or how they've just generally been enjoying them. And the fact that YouTube comments in general have such a bad rep. You know, if you ask anyone what's the stereotypical YouTube commenter like, you think of someone who's immature, just angry at the world, and just ready to argue or criticize anyone. But I have to say, you guys have totally debunked that theory as far as I'm concerned. You know, the number of just really honest, genuine, and just nice comments that I've got, I've been so just amazed by that. So this is where I would love it if you guys could take that powerful energy of positivity and just kind of shower it on those people who won the competition. I'd love to see so many constructive comments on the winning videos, and especially encouragements. You know, if you could leave 2 encouraging points and maybe 1 point of criticism, constructive criticism that is, just to kind of let some other people experience this huge amount of support that I am so grateful for. Now, I'd also like to say that all of the submissions were hugely impressive, how the quality of them. And I have to say that if everyone who submitted, I'd love to see if everyone carried on filmmaking, where we would all be in 5 years, where we'd all be in 10 years. Because if everyone, you know, this has shown me that there is some serious talent out there. A lot of you said, particularly the ones actually who said this is my first film, I was amazed at how good it was for a first film, you know. And that's the kind of thing we're talking about here, is that whether it was your second film, first film, or, you know, maybe you've been doing it for a year, that's still very early on. I'm still very early on in my filmmaking, and it's all about just kind of seeing, right, here's where we're at, look back, see where we were a year ago, and say, yeah, I've improved since then, so I'm definitely going to be able to improve. And that is, I think, a really good motivation to carry on, and that is what I really hope as many of you as possible get out of this. You know, whether you won or not, I hope that you carry on making films if that's what you want to do, and hopefully we can all carry on, and I think there's going to be a lot of successful people in this audience. And if you're feeling especially generous, you could give some feedback to the people who didn't win the competition, the people who perhaps need it even more, need that positivity and that inspiration and the feedback that comes from your comments. So I would like to invite any of you to search for DSLRguide without a space, that's very important, DSLRguide 5,000 subscriber competition. And if you type that in and make sure that it is the version without a space, then it should come up with all of the entries to the competition. And if you want to leave any feedback and any encouragement, that would be a really awesome thing, I think. Because if each of those videos had a few honest, encouraging comments, then I think that really could help out a lot of people. So if that's something you're interested in, then feel free to spend a bit of time doing that. I would think that would be an awesome way to spend some time. And yeah, so that's it for this week. If you've got any thoughts about any of how this video was for you, then feel free to let me know in the comments. As always, I'm very happy to hear about what you thought of this video, but also remember to check out those videos. That really is the key here, is that you check out the winning ones, and if you're feeling especially generous, the ones who didn't win. So yeah, that's it for this week, and I'll see you next time.